Okay, sir. So, good morning to one and all present here. So, we are gathered here for the webinar on the topic design thinking and interdisciplinary domain. So, I would like to propose the welcome address. So, respected resource person, Mr. R. Prithviraj, sir, lead UX designer, Trimble, Chennai, and members of the audience. Good morning to one and all gathered here. On behalf of Ramco Institute of Technology, I would like to express my great pleasure in welcoming all of you to this webinar. At this moment, I am really privileged to welcome our resource person, Mr. R. Prithviraj sir, lead UX designer, Trimble Chennai, to this webinar on design thinking and interdisciplinary domain. I am most delighted that he has been able to accommodate this event in his very busy schedule of activities, and also that he has been able to come to grace the occasion as the resource person. I welcome you, sir. I feel extremely honored to welcome our principal, Dr. L. Ganesan sir, Vice Principal, Dr. S. Rajakarnagaran sir, DGM sir, and heads of various departments. Their able guidance and timely advice was instrumental in organizing this event. I heartily welcome you all to this event. We are extremely delighted to have our student participants and faculty members in this program. Thank you for adding value to this event by your presence. On behalf of the institution, I extend the heartiest welcome to you all.
Thank you, Ganesh.
Okay, sir.
You want me to start the session?
Yes, sir. So let me introduce you to the participants. After that, we can start, sir.
Sure.
Okay, sir. So, a brief introduction about the resource person. So, Prithviraj Ramakrishna sir is working as a lead UX user experience designer in Trimble, Chennai. He guides and mentors UX designers working on Trimble customer projects in the domain of construction, transportation, agriculture, and geospatial sectors. So, previously, he worked as a lead experience designer for 4.5 years at Siemens R&D UXD India Group, Bangalore. He has led and worked in business and research projects across the domains of power generation, services, smart infrastructure, building technology, mobility, and healthcare. His research work majorly focuses on UX for industrial application of extended reality, that is augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality, along with the trust on AI and visualizing knowledge graphs. He has collaboratively worked with designers, cognitive neuroscientists, anthropologists, and requirements engineers. So he graduated with an M Design, the Master of Design from IIT Kanpur. He is a gold medalist, prior to which he had worked as a software developer at Sintel. He also holds a BTech in ECE from Mahavir Institute of Science and Technology, Hyderabad, which is affiliated to Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Hyderabad. His achievements are he has won many prestigious national awards, including the Imprint India MHRD National Logo Design Competition, for which he was invited to the Rashtrapati Bhavan for the launch of the program in the presence of then Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, the President Shri Pranab Mukherjee sir, and MHRD Minister Srimati Smriti Irani ji. He has also won in the inter IIT competitions, national level design competitions. So his hobbies are observing people, sketching, learning languages, and designing solutions for the visually impaired community. So he has also collaborated with the faculty at MIT Boston, helping the visually challenged community to learn geometry. Sir, let me give a brief introduction about the topic, then we can start, sir. Okay, sir. So about the topic, so the webinar on design thinking and interdisciplinary domain. So in this session, we will have an overview of what design thinking is, how it is universal in its approach towards the problem solving, and how it is applicable both in industrial and daily life scenarios. So we are going to discuss how does design thinking take into consideration the characteristics of different domains, human, technological, and financial aspects of the challenge at hand, and enable us to come up with the useful and innovative solutions. So this session would also cover an overview of the existing education and career paths in the domain of design thinking, At last, there would be an extensive Q&A session where the audience can feel free to discuss their query of interest. Thank you. Sir, over to you, sir. We can start, sir.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So, first of all, very good morning to everyone. Hope all of you are fine and your family is also safe. Thanks for taking time on a Saturday morning and being here. I'm very glad to be sharing my experiences and knowledge in terms of my journey in design. And along the lines, I would also really want to thank Institute of Technology for giving me this opportunity to be a part of the session in sharing my experiences with the students. Let me share my screen and start talking about something. If I'm not wrong, sir, I think we have all the 4 years of students here, right? Like 4 years of all engineering students here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just confirm if you're able to see my screen.
It is visible, sir.
Is it visible in full screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, just. Yeah.
So participants, kindly pin the presentation so that you can able to see it clearly.
Sure. So to give you an introduction about how this session is going to be, what I have been informed is that we have a lot of bright students taking their own different domains of education here. It could be in different domains of engineering. So even though that is the case, many of us would have our questions on how to go ahead in terms of career, what career path we need to choose, how do we define what our career is, or can we even get something that interests us in career, or is it just going to be a dry job that's going to pay me something, right? So these questions are common for every graduate, be it the first year person or the fourth year who is going to pass out. So that way I have gone through this. I'll show you my career path and you'll see that I have gone through my own journey in terms of taking different paths. But I've been fortunate to land in a domain which I'm very, very passionate about, which is natural to me, which is just thinking about humans, designing for them. So that is where our session will be centered around. So it will talk about what design thinking is broadly, to give you an overview of design thinking. It will talk about a bit of what you would need to know about career awareness, and also a bit about my experiences and what I have been able to, let us say, go through or experience across my journey in this field of domain of design. And I have tried to keep this my monologue session short. Okay, so I would want it to be a dialogue in both ways. So I'll try to quickly go through this, and of course want to spend most of the time on Q&A. Yeah. So that ways I'll talk about this. In case if you have thoughts, please reach out to me, and we can definitely try to have a discussion and try to see where we go then. So as Ganesh mentioned, I'm Prithviraj. I work as a lead UX designer at Trimble. So what does a lead UX designer do? So first of all, user experience is the domain of trying to understand the users for a particular business challenge, and then designing solutions that brings together the benefits for the users, which is feasible to be designed with the technology available now, and which is viable in the sense which is financially profitable and also sustainable for the business to continue developing such technology. So I look at it from a user-centered standpoint, but I do keep in mind the business and the technological aspects in the background. So that is why I'm called a user experience designer, because we are having the profession has user as the center of the design thinking process. And in fact, ideally, if you look at it, who is a user, right? Like a user is someone who is using a product or a solution. In this case, we are all using.
Sir, we are seeing only the first slide, sir, title slide.
Yeah. I'm going to go into the details. I'm just giving you an overview. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So a user is someone who is using any particular solution or a product. In this case, we are all using Google Meets, so we all become users. Right? So when someone had designed this Google Meet application, they thought that the users would want to share the screen. They thought that the users would want to mute themselves, unmute themselves, show the video, and probably even raise their hand, a few things. So they thought of the users and then designed the solution. So any solution that we design ideally tries to do that. But sometimes what happens is if we miss the user's desires or scope, we tend to go away from the path of what the user likes and what the user wants to use, and that becomes a failure. So a good design and a bad design is differentiated by how easy it is for the user to use it. That is broadly in terms of user and user experience. So every scenario can be categorized as user experience. If you're eating some food, you're being served in a particular way. So that experience, if you're feeling happy and you like that experience, it is a good experience. If you don't like the taste, it's a bad experience. So everything is in terms of experience of users and how business use it. So they try to see what is desirable, what is likable by the users, and they try to monetize it, which means they create a business model around it. So I work in Trimble as a lead user experience designer, where I work with a couple of other designers, where I guide them to work on some projects, and I co-work with them. And yes, I did my master's from IIT Kanpur in the year of 2016. So I passed out in 2016, and I passed out of my bachelor's in 2012. So I'll quickly show you an overview of my journey, right? So we'll start from the bottom. I did my bachelor's in electronics and communication engineering in Mahavir Institute of Science and Technology, JNTU, Hyderabad. That I passed out in 2012. Then I worked as a risk investigation intern in Amazon, Hyderabad, for around 6 months. Later, I came to Chennai in 2012, December, and there I started working as a software developer in Sintel for around 1.5 years. And that is when I got to know about design as a field existing. And if you see a typical path, right, like you did a bachelor's in electronics or any other domain, but then you go into a software developer role because that is what is available. I did try. I really wanted to get into electronics, but opportunities were probably less at that time, and I also probably couldn't get in. Then I went into a software job, and now in software job, I got to know about design as a field existing. I have been an artist from my childhood. I am very passionate about art. I love drawing. I love observing people, like mentioned in the introduction. I love observing people and trying to see what makes them behave the way they behave. So animals, trees, plants, everything. So that way, I am a very observant person. So with that interest, when I got to know that there is a domain called design, I tried to explore it a bit in terms of what does design offer, like what kind of a course it is it suitable to me, or even if I now leave a software job which is secure enough for me, would it be a risk or would it be safe? And I made a decision to try. So that is when in my first attempt, I got All India rank 75, and I had to attend interviews. So the design process is like, the interview process, like even after you get a good rank in All India level, you will still have to attend interviews in each of the colleges, and then they will see out of various candidates who is suitable. So I got into IIT Kanpur, and I passed out as a gold medalist after 2 years across. Generally, one gold medal is awarded to one single student per year for being best all-round performer across all masters, PhDs, MSc, MBA, and all the departments. And that you should be excelling in terms of extracurricular activities, academics, social work, international collaboration, and sports as well. So I happen to be that person for passing out as the Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma Gold Medalist for all-round performance. I'm really fortunate that the campus gives you all the opportunities to do it, and after you utilize those opportunities, it itself rewards it. The reason I bring that point that I'm a gold medalist is to say that first of all, I'm from Rajapalayam, right? So I was born here in Rajapalayam. I studied here till third class. Then I went and studied in Hyderabad since 4th class, and there I continued till my bachelor's. And then my career has been taking me to different places. And there are many stories of what people tell us what is possible and what is not possible. So I just want to give you an example that anything is possible starting from our place. So there is no place, good, bad, better. Of course, the circumstances are, but it is in your hands to change it in terms of how you turn it into an opportunity. So eventually, after passing out of IIT Kanpur, I joined Siemens R&D Bangalore as a lead experience designer. Like I told you what experience designer does, because that's a very high level overview. I'll talk about some details in the next couple of slides. And there my responsibilities as an R&D team member was, of course, to execute some business projects with customers from Orlando, Berlin, international customers. And at the same time, research in terms of R&D with respect to mixed and augmented reality was my focus, and there were a few other areas like knowledge graphs and trust on artificial intelligence and stuff like that. So in the process, being an R&D group, I had to publish patents, and I have also published papers in international conferences. And now I am currently working since early this year in Trimble, Chennai as a lead UX designer. And my role is in terms of enabling a couple of designers and working with them towards delivering best-in-class experiences for business solutions, which are in the area of geospatial, agriculture, construction, and transportation. So that is where my journey is. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what life unveils for me as I go forward. So that is a broad overview about my journey. Let us talk a bit about design thinking. So what is design thinking? In a way, you can say it is common sense. I'll tell you why you can call it common sense. First, going circle by circle. So design thinking is a methodology or a domain of space which lets you bring in your thought processes, your practices to identify what is desirable for people, the blue circle. And the wild one below is talking about how feasible it is to design such a solution for those people. And viability. I mean, do you have the money or can you sustain it on a long term to make these solutions? That's a very, very broad definition of design thinking. I have 2 more slides which kind of elaborate on it a bit. But just to give an overview here. So when we are designing some solutions, when we are designing some products, you want to go into a startup, or you are working for a startup which is designing solutions for other customers who are people who have desires, right? Who have likes, dislikes, they have wants, they have needs. So when you are designing for them, they are going to pay for you. So it should be desirable for them. If there is a need for which they are willing to pay their money and buy your solution or product. So that identification of what the need is the aspect of that blue circle, which is desirability. Okay, let us take a small, simple problem of water not being available in Rajapalayam, let us say. Right? So if you don't have water, there is demand for water. So there is a desire for people to consume water. They want water for various purposes, for drinking, for utilizing and stuff. Now the need is identified. It might be that in like 6 months from now, water is available in plenty and you don't care about it. So that is a difference in a scenario. There will be other needs there, but let us take a scenario of people needing water. Now you have to provide it in a fashion. Let us say now you have decided as a startup to provide water to these people in Rajapalayam. So you have to provide it in a fashion that they are willing to consume from you, right? And at the same time, they are willing to pay for you. And the very important thing is you can deliver it as you promised. For example, you are saying I'll give you every day at 9 a.m. sharp this quality of water for this price. But it's in COVID situation, common practice, probably 80% don't do it, right? So common sense and common practice are 2 different things. So design thinking can be common sense, but do you really use it in your day-to-day activities? If you use it effectively, you can get profitable. Yeah. People to imbibe, learn, and use these design thinking in their daily activities or in their innovation projects, in education, in various areas. Design thinking is a very interdisciplinary domain. That is why the title is an interdisciplinary domain, where you bring in multiple things to address a problem. The problem is the hero, and the solution is going to arrive by following design thinking. We want to follow electronics, electrical, design, mechanical. It's all to solve the problem. But design thinking gives you a framework to go in a pathway that helps you better arrive at this intersection point which you saw. So all the design thinking methodologies helping you is to go through a path that helps you go to that intersection. Yeah. So there are 5 well-defined steps. This is very well researched. It has worked. I have used it multiple times across at least 20-25 projects in my career. And so it starts with empathize, goes through define, ideate, prototype, and test. Okay. Yes, those are the 5 stages. But what do they mean for us? So empathy is first step is to understand what are the real challenges for the audience or for the user group for whom you are designing. Like I told the water problem in Rajapalayam, right? So you first understand who are those users. Are these housewives? Are they housewives, or are they people who are going to work daily? So where will they use water? For what purposes they will use water? Are they having tap connections, or through what medium it is coming to them? So you have to see that. This is high-level analysis. You have to also experience it. You have to try doing it to see the real challenges that are going through. You might send water tankers, but how do they store waters? Is it easy for them to get waters? So what struggle they go through in the process of getting waters? So if you see why Ola and Uber are a huge success, it is the process of avoiding hassle or fighting with the drivers, because the amount is defined and you don't have to do anything, and it comes to your doorstep. The reason I'm bringing this Ola example is, if you think of a water tanker where there are 20 women standing in a line fighting for the water, can you design a solution that avoids that fighting process and makes it easier for them and take water with dignity? That can be a very good business model, right? So you have to talk about the human aspects. That is dignity. There is satisfaction. There is let us say a sense of completion of something in a very smooth process. That is all good experience, right? So you empathize with what's happening in reality. Try to understand the real aspects of things. Then you define. Okay, you have understood all this. Now you define which problem you want to solve. You might have observed 20-25 problems, but you cannot solve all at a time. So you define what is the focus area. After you define the focus area, you will ideate on what are the different approaches. You want to keep your mind really open and bring up different approaches. So you want quantity here rather than quality. So first you come up with more ideas, then you have the quality filter of what works, what doesn't work. So you'll again narrow down and identify some important solutions that seem feasible. Then you go to prototyping these solutions. For example, you came up with some ideas. Okay, let us, out of these 20 ideas that we got, let us prototype 2. Prototyping means trying to implement it in a test setup, like a small setup. Instead of supplying for the whole town or the whole village, you want to supply it for 2 houses nearby, or from one room to near next room. Make a small scale model, test if it works, and then you see in the process of testing you will get a few more ideas, and then you will iterate and then rectify these challenges. You will prototype and test it with users ideally. You test it, probably you know how you designed it, so it's easy. But when you give it to users, they will use it in a totally different way, and you will get to understand why are they using it like this. Probably we should design it in a different way. So every step here is not always sequential. Sometimes in the process of prototyping, you get to get some more thoughts that will help you define your problem better. So you come back to define, make some adjustments, and then go for ideation again and come back. This can be very quick. It need not be a semester project. For learning, it can take semesters for you. But after you learn the process, you can do such ideation sessions within 2 days also. But of course, with the right experience, you will be able to come up with more quality content. That is an overview of the process. The same process represented in another way is in the next slide. So the problem identification and empathy. So what you see as the left corner as problem is the place where you are empathizing and understanding what the problems are. So where you are discovering the problem, because you are actually finding, okay, there are so many challenges. standing in a line in a sunny day is going to be very tough. Okay, they have to take care of kids at home, but they are standing in a line here. And at the same time, that is, I'm talking about women here. If you talk about others, like someone is going to office but they're waiting for water, right? Someone is waiting for drinking water, that is much more serious, right? So various things like that. So you have a lot of problems. That is where the diamond, or the first blue diamond, is actually expanding. And after you come up with all these problems, you want to choose the problems, like I told you in the previous slide, right? So you want to define what narrow down problems you want to go ahead with. There are 100 problems, but you cannot solve all at a time. You want to cluster and combine a few problems into different things and then make them your target for the next couple of months or next couple of weeks or next couple of hours for you to think about. So that is where you are converging, and the blue diamond is joining together. So the first diamond is identifying all the challenges. Second is, and you're kind of defining all the challenges into a couple of things what you want to focus. Then you come up with multiple ideas for this. So where again the diamond is diverging, right? Where you are developing multiple ideas and you're testing, right? And then you are eventually later delivering and listening to the solutions that are being tested with the users. So you again narrow down. So it is the same thing what you saw in the previous slide, but this shows you where you have to widen and where you have to narrow down. So diverge, converge. So this is called the double diamond process, in other words. Yeah. So this is all good. This is in terms of process. Now, where all can we use this, right? So what kind of problems can it be? I gave you an example of water problem in Rajpalayam, right? So now the problem can be gas turbine maintenance in Orlando in USA, right? It can be a maintenance engineer working in terms of maintaining a huge gas turbine which generates power for countries, right? Like it could be for US, it could be for India. I'm talking about a scenario in Orlando in US. I have worked in scenarios like that. So what are the challenges that this person goes through? What is a typical journey in his day-to-day activities? What does he want to see? Suppose I am going to design a digital solution for him. What should appear in the first screen and why it is important for him? After he touches on a particular button, what should be next? So you are translating his daily activities into easy and resolvable solutions through a digital application. You don't want to create the same physical experience. The reason there is a company putting in, there are employees putting effort, be it designers, be it programmers, be it developers, right? Back and front end. And there are managers and business people who are trying to put their effort, money and time into solving this, is to make life easier for someone. In this case, it is a gas turbine maintenance engineer. In the example which I took in the previous slide, it is the people of Rajapalayam, right? Now, in the process, if it makes their life easier, they will buy that solution. So the solution can be, if you see on the right-hand side, digital maintenance solution for this gas turbine maintenance engineer. So I've worked on the solution for 2 years in Siemens, and I've seen it absolutely working. I've traveled there to Orlando, educated the product owners in some cases who are not aware of this process to understand how important it is for us to understand the challenges and then design. See, the typical processes, what we do in general life, sometimes, like I said, design thinking can be common sense, but it might not be common practice. When we get a problem in mind, we'll also easily get 5 solutions for it. But are those solutions viable, feasible for a sustainable growth is something we need to think. And also, are they desirable? For example, if I say there is a water problem in Rajapalayam, I can say, like, someone can say that, okay, I'll invent an app that can make me order water cans right away. It might work, but do we know that it is going to be sustainable and profitable for the organization? Have we tested it? Are there any other ideas that are working? Why did we come up with that solution? Is there a logic we came up with it, or because everyone is making apps, I'm also making? Thought process need to go into consideration. Only then you will have, let us say, a better chance of success. And design thinking helps you go through that process so that you get better chances of success. Because you are testing it before launching, and you have enough feedback to see what works, what doesn't work. So the example I gave in terms of wide variety of problem system in terms of gas turbine, right? It could another example can be health for the elderly. When I say health for the elderly, I'll show you a case study of Good Kitchen. The case study's name is Good Kitchen. It happened in Netherlands, where quite a few old people were under the care of the government, and government is responsible for taking care of their health. The challenge was the government is giving lunch, supplying lunch to those houses daily, but the elders don't eat it. I mean, government is now very confused. Like we are putting efforts to send lunch to each house. We are employing laborers to send that. We are making sure that food is cooked on time. But it seems like people are not eating. The whole purpose of this program was to maintain the health of these old people. But if they don't eat, they're not going to be healthy. So that was the question. That was the challenge the government had. So the designers in this case, or the people who are having the problem in this case, are the governments, right? The government is having a problem. The end users are the elders. But so how did designers come into picture and help connect the dots and solve this is one case study which we'll see in a moment. Similarly, another problem can be education for visually challenged. I mean, I'm just giving you examples of what the solution can be and what the problems can be and the solutions can be. And the problems can be infinite. So for example, some of you do not know about enough careers. Some of you are interested to, let us say, experiment with a few new technologies, but you won't have access to it. You can probably make a makerspace. Makerspace is where all solutions, all tinkering elements are available for you to play with. But again, that is an immediate solution. So what I mean to say is there are enough problems and there are different ways of approaching it. We need to use some methodologies to come up with ideal solutions that would work. So this methodology is helpful to get you through that process in a smooth way. This is a small introduction. There are many articles available on it, courses available on design thinking. I have been able to go through this in a 2 years master's program, implemented in social innovation projects, implemented with visually challenged kids, implemented it with website, digital solution designs. And in Siemens, I have worked for various segments like power solutions, power services, mobility, healthcare, and I've seen this work across. Of course, there are various research methodologies for each of the stages. What I've shown you is just an overview. So the discover in the left half of the blue diamond has many methodologies to use. In defining what methodologies can you use to define, what methodologies can you use to identify. There are methodologies available. It comes with practice. But this is a very quick introduction for you guys. So moving on, I'll show you a case study of Good Kitchen. Yeah. I hope you guys can see and hear the audio properly.
Illustrate the power of design thinking. We're going to go to depth.
Can you hear that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I'll play this video to just try to see what's going on. So this video is going to give you an overview of how in Denmark a particular design thinking agency has been able to transform the experience of that community healthcare, which I told you, right, some time back, about the elders consuming food effectively so that they can be healthy.
Denmark. And there's a very popular case of the Good Kitchen. Right now, the government of Denmark had a very unique problem on their hands, right? They had this fast-growing, aging population, and with that population came a few problems, right? So specifically, the Denmark government sponsors meals for about 125,000 senior citizens. So every day they prepare meals and send it to their households, right? Yet, they realized that 60% of these senior citizens are low on nutrition and 20% are actually clinically malnourished. Now, this was a baffling situation for the Danish government. They were like, we're doing everything that we can to make sure that these people are eating well. And yet, this was the situation. So they got in a consultancy firm called Hatch and Bloom, and they told them that, see, this is a situation, you got to help us fix the menu, right? They thought that the problem lied in fixing the menu because maybe senior citizens don't like the food we're giving them. They have different tastes, or, they want something else. So Hatch and Bloom took this problem and actually dived a lot deeper into it, right? What they did was that they shadowed delivery boys into the houses of these senior citizens. They watched the senior citizens as they received the food, unpacked it, prepared it, ate it. And on the other hand, they also went into the kitchens where this food was being prepared. They spoke to the employees, the cooks who were preparing that food, and they synthesized this entire situation, and they realized a few key things, right? So they realized that senior citizens were actually embarrassed to be receiving help from the government. In Denmark, people would approach their friends or they would approach their family if they needed help. Approaching the government for help was an absolute last resort, right? So although the government had good intentions, they failed to realize that, there is an underlying emotional current that's stopping these people, or it's making them really embarrassed about their situation, right? The second important discovery was that after personal hygiene, the second most important thing for these people was the food that they ate. They were particular about what they ate. Some of them even grew their own vegetables, and they wanted to use that. They liked seasonal fruits and vegetables, but they didn't have any control on the menu. They didn't have any control on their choices of food, right? So that was painful for them. And the third was their situation of eating alone, being disconnected, not getting that seasonal food taste. So what they realized is that the lesser they enjoyed the situation, the smaller their appetites. And that's why they were not eating well enough, right? On the other hand, the employees who were making this food, they were very demotivated, because making meals in a government kitchen in Denmark is touted as a very low status job, right? So these workers were demotivated. They were bored of creating the same meals day in and day out. And in general, both these sides were very disconnected and demotivated in general, right? So what did Hatch and Bloom do? They started with actually shifting mental models, right? They wanted to give a fresh perspective to this entire situation. And they said that, okay, they got everybody together, right? They got all the key stakeholders, the municipality, the senior citizens, the cooks, and they got everybody to sit down together and said that, you know what, let's think about this as a restaurant. What if this food service was a restaurant and not a government-sponsored service? And this actually triggered a very creative rush. People started thinking of it differently. They started approaching it differently. So a kitchen became a restaurant, right? And that's when the cooks started thinking of themselves as chefs. And they started taking more pride in being chefs. There is a better status attached to chefs rather than cooks. And this also made them think about, okay, if we are the chefs and we're creating all this food, then who are the waiters, And the vehicles were obviously the waiters. And this also made people think deep about the condition of these vehicles, the cooling systems. They went ahead and changed a lot of that and, spruced it up. And lastly, they started describing their menu a lot better. So instead of boring names with, potatoes and sauce, which would not entice anybody to eat this food, they started thinking of it as a menu in a restaurant. When you go to a restaurant and read a menu, you feel like ordering the food because it's described so well, it's presented so well with pictures and photography. So this is the result of this entire exercise, right? It came out to be a completely new service with different packaging, different fresher ingredients. And the most important thing was that there was a two-way feedback mechanism. So through postcards, right, the senior citizens would convey what they felt about the food, and the chefs, the cooks in these kitchens would receive this feedback, and they would speak to each other. So what landed up happening is that the senior citizen on any given day knew who was preparing their meal in this kitchen. And the people who are preparing these meals were also more satisfied because, someone's appreciating their food. They know the kind of impact their food is having on these senior citizens, making their day a little better. So this connection kind of quelled their feelings of isolation and loneliness and demotivation in general. And this came to be known as the good kitchen, right? In numbers, right, this saw a 500% increase in meal orders only in the first week. And that's where, there came about better nutrition and, they solved the problem of senior citizens not eating well enough and not being nourished well enough, right? And this is an emotional side of it where, the chef says that if you have professional pride, you'll also cook good food, and good food actually comes from the heart. So the Danish government thought that the initial solution was fixing the menu, but what actually turned out to be the solution was something totally different, right? There were happier senior citizens with better nutrition, motivated employees who took pride in their work. Now, this is the power of design thinking.
Yeah. So that is an example of how design thinking can give you a totally different perspective to design, right? So to solving a problem. Going back to our presentation. So if you see, just to think out loud on what just happened in that case study, we noticed that the government initially thought changing the menu for the elders would fix the problem, right? That is a right away thought, like probably they don't like the food that we are sending, so let us change the menu. But eventually, the problem was much bigger than that. There was a sense of isolation. There was no sense of choice for the elders. They didn't have that self-respect in reaching out to government for support. I mean, you can talk to your friends, neighbors, and probably relatives for support, but taking help from government is a totally different thing. So changing the experience with the intervention of the design agency, they totally changed the experience of, instead of helping them transporting food to their doorsteps, they helped transport them to their nearest restaurant-like setups, where they had the option to choose what they wanted to eat that day. And they get to meet their friends, they're happy. So when you're happy and you're eating healthy food, you're healthy, right? So that way the experience is totally different. So the first solution, obvious one, would have again failed. If you change the menu, implement it again for the next 2 months, you would have seen a bad result. So the point I'm trying to make here is you have to empathize with the different stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, here the stakeholders are who are receiving food, who are delivering food, who are making food, and who is actually thinking about the plan of bringing all these resources together, the government. All these are different stakeholders. It's not like the government should be unhappy and all of them can be happy, or the chefs should be unhappy and the rest can be happy. Can we design solutions that make everything happy? Happy is a subjective term, but it has a path. We do have a possibility to arrive at that, and design thinking helps you do that if you follow it objectively without getting biased from our own thought process. Okay, this is what the solution can be. We want to validate it before coming to that conclusion, right? Now, with all that said, that is an overview of what design thinking is. An example, I would have loved to share some of my personal industrial experiences in terms of case studies, but due to non-disclosure agreement and stuff and confidentiality reasons, I will not be able to talk about them. But I think that would have given you some basics of what design thinking is, and you can always refer to articles and a few other videos. I have a session with the faculty, I think, in some days. So I'll discuss with them on what can be done to share any resources if needed for some better overview. So finding a career of interest is one of the topics that we want to discuss today, right? Like first thing, what you need to be aware is in terms of what opportunities are around. See, one thing is like Like since I was an electronics and communication engineer, I can tell you the thought process is I did 4 years of BTech, so I need to go into electronics. Yes, that's a good thought process, but we need to see what is the demand in terms of demand in the society now and try to bring our knowledge. So, and then implement it. So when I say, let us say some of you are EEE, people, EC, CSC, IT, and mechanical, right? So what you need to take this 4 years is that you have gained knowledge in this domain and see how you can utilize this knowledge in different areas. It is fine, it is nice that EEE can go exactly into EEE related domain, EC can go into exactly into EC, or CSC can go into coding and same domain. If the market or the career opportunities around give you that opportunity, good, but do not take that. Even if you, for example, you studied CSE and you are getting into a software job, it is good, but I would recommend do not restrict yourself that you are a software engineer. No, that is one small role you are playing of many things that you can do. Okay, restricting yourself will actually make you uncomfortable after some time because you have so many other desires, you have so many other aspirations. Like, can there be solutions that bring your interests and also combine it with the opportunities around? So when I say opportunities, for example, related to software, there is software development, back-end, front-end, and there are various technologies available. You can do software development for social innovation, for like something, creating a website for Good Kitchen, something like that. Or you can design an app that helps people enjoy by playing games. You can design, let us say, statistics-based solutions based on the need of the hour. So like I see many students designing COVID survey data available for others, like beds availability in hospitals. So you can use your skills in different places. So, but you have to be also self-aware, where what do I like to do? For example, I know that I like drawing. That is not my only interest. I like observing people. When I observe people, what I mean to say is I eventually also try to come out as what can I do to help people. And I also like spending time with family. So I need to see that my job allows me to give that space. And I should also be very clear that the job is enabling me to live a better life than my life itself is job. I think the first few years of our careers might be like my life totally is my job, but we have to evolve to a point where the job enables you to live your life happily. And if you are going to become an entrepreneur or a CEO or you are going to establish a startup tomorrow, I would urge you to think from that standpoint for your upcoming employees also. Yeah. So one part is what I like to do, other part is what I'm good at doing. So I might like singing, but am I good at singing? If I'm not good at it, what can I do to become better at singing? And after knowing these, the intersection of both these circles is where the career opportunity is for you. So if there are opportunities that are willing to pay for you to sing sometimes, great, and you can do that. But there could be many other interests which are not fulfilled by the job, but you have having that financial security with that. Now, meme creation is also a job. YouTuber has become a job or like profession. It's not a job, right? So, and these are temporary jobs sometimes, but there is nothing wrong in doing something very well so that you create a niche for yourself and then become an expert in that. So you should be having that awareness. What you have learned, what generally you learn in a college is the technical skills. And having career cells like this, I think RIT is doing a great job in terms of giving you that awareness. Many colleges don't have that. So you are also now gathering information on what careers are available, but you have to put your own research into it, because your interests will motivate you to research more than someone else doing it for you. This is the beginning. These sessions are just the beginning for you, and you have to do much more in finding that. Some opportunities for you in terms of education, for you if you are interested in design. First thing I'll ask you to explore what is design, what all things are offered. Just like engineering has electronics, electrical, mechanical, computer science, design has many other fields in it. Okay, so it has automobile design, it has animation and film design, it has visual communication design where you make posters, t-shirts, or various other places of visual communication. It could be advertisements. There is interaction design, which talks about core interactions of physical and digital aspects of interaction. So there is user experience design from where I am, like, which talks about a wide variety of things, but keeping, for all this, user is the center, but user experience design has its own broadness and depth to it. So I would recommend you to go through articles or resources that help you kind of get an overview of what these design fields are. That will also help you understand what interests you, right? So the exam that I wrote to get into this was Common Entrance Examination for Design. There is a bachelor's exam for bachelor's also, which is called USEED. But of course, you guys are already in your bachelor's. Some of you can still write it if you're interested. The Common Entrance Examination for Design is for the masters. It's a 2-year course, and it is offered by these IITs and IISCs, and some other institutes also allow you to use this ranking from this exam. These are listed out here, right? So generally the process, to give you an overview, you prepare yourself and write this exam. Very interestingly, the question papers are all available. The previous question papers are all available. The question papers have questions related to drawing, general knowledge with respect to arts and with respect to aptitude with respect to design and art. For example, the first question for me in my exam was draw a person standing near a scooter or draw a person opening a fridge. I'm an artist from childhood. I was like, this is my question paper, right? So when I first saw the question papers, when my friend introduced about it when I was working in Sintel, I was really shocked because it was as if like I set the question paper, because whatever I liked was there in the question paper. So it was coincidence for me that what I liked is a part of this domain. And probably for some of you, it might be the case. So feel free to go to visit this website and see the question papers and try this out. Definitely try it out. If that interests you, it might be a great opportunity, because what you love, if it becomes your profession, it is amazing. I think in Gajini, Surya says, right, like if you enjoy what you're doing, then it is an amazing thing. And it is like that for me in design. I really enjoy the job. There is also NID, that exam by NID. There are a few institutes. NID is actually National Institute of Design, right? So many people don't know about it. And even in IITs, people don't know that IITs offer design, right? So they think IITs is all about technology, but there are design programs, specific design programs in IITs. In IIT Bombay, there is IDC, Industrial Design Center. And in each of the IITs, I am from IIT Kanpur, we have the design program there. IIT Bombay has quite a few variety of courses, visual design. There are 5 different design courses. IIT Kanpur had 2. I think they might expand. Delhi has 2 domains, product design and user experience, stuff like that. National Institute of Design is only about design. Just like your college is focused on engineering, the National Institute of Design are actually national level institutes with very few branches in India, but they are fully focused on design, and they are known for amazing design works coming out. Majority of the works you see, for example, the gas stove, the hurricane lamps, which were released by the government of India, sometimes comes from these institutes. And many reach out to IITs and collaborate with them for many technological and design solutions. So when I say MHRD, it is the Ministry of Human Resource and Development. So the career opportunities might be things, directions in terms of user experience design, interaction design. So when I say user experience design, what I talked about so far is about that. Interaction design focuses on the interaction aspects of user experience. It is a total depth. It has a total depth to it. Animation and film design, you learn animation for 2 years in terms of courses, and now you become an animation designer. You can become a consultancy, or you can have your own studio. You can design films. Mobility and vehicle design. Very interesting design, but career opportunities, I think there is quite some competition there, because there are only a few vehicles coming out every year, but there are quite a few designers. So, but yeah, if you're good at it, no one is going to stop you. I mean, they'll come looking for you if you're good at it. So visual interaction design, there is extraordinary opportunities with marketing around. So you can become a visual interaction designer. Many of the corporates now have user experience design roles. Google, Microsoft, name anything. Even like if you take Ola, Uber, whatever you're using as apps, if you feel the app is easy, is coming through a user experience design process. So all digital solutions and most even physical solutions are looking for user experience. And so if you ask me, is it a good career to go? It is good. But I would also urge you to see if it's suitable for you or do you like it. Try doing that. Yeah, one thing I wanted to point out was like in the process of my masters in IIT Kanpur, there was a national level competition for Imprint India logo design. So I told you about MHRD reaching out to IITs and NIDs and institutes to work on some educational projects, right? Like, so one such project is impacting research, innovation, and technology, Imprint India. It was a 1,000 crore project where 100 crores was allocated to each of the different IITs and for different domains. So it was a national level competition open for all design agencies, students, and professionals. And I happened to submit it and my entry, and this was the entry that won the competition. I am very privileged. And I was invited to the Rashtrapati Bhavan for the launch. I was there in front of the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, the then President Pranab Mukherjee, and also the then MHRD Minister Smriti Irani ma'am. And you see me just behind Smriti Irani ma'am on the below the chandelier. 2015 November, when the launch happened in Rashtrapati Bhavan. I'm just bringing this to tell you the possibilities of what you can do starting from Rajapalayam. No one is stopping you, be it Rajapalayam or any other place or town or village, right? No one can stop you from achieving your dreams if you want to do things which you like. And I was doing engineering, I was doing good, but I did not reach that heights, probably because of circumstances, whatever. But I'm very fortunate that one of my friends job later, and then I got to know about design and see the change of journeys, right? So what I want to tell you is changing careers is not wrong. Like if you are in electronics, you're going to software, it's not wrong. I mean, it might be happy dissatisfaction and stuff, but there is nothing wrong in it. You will, if you are always open to opportunities, if you are improving your skills every time and make sure that you have the right skill sets, I think the opportunities are enough around, but you should be aware there is a preparation needed. Being good at your skills is a part of the game, but being aware of what are the opportunities around is a totally different skill set, and we have to develop it. It's not difficult. Anything with effort is easy, but it's a separate skill set that you need to generate. Yeah. With that, I would close the session, but I would encourage people to ask questions. I think we took some extra time. I'm available for quite some time after this also. We can continue the session and open it for question and answers. Thank you so much for RIT management and students for taking time and listening to this. One session with the faculty, and probably in that I can also give some resources or reach out to you guys later again for something else. But as of now, we can definitely go for Q&As.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable information. So, dear participants, now I request you to ask questions to the resource person. Participants, the session is open for question and discussion. So I kindly
Sanjay,
request you to ask questions.
Sanjay, you raise your hand, you can ask questions.
Sanjay Ram? Sanjay Ram, are you there?
Any one of you can ask the question, both the faculty as well as the students.
Yes, participants.
Good morning, sir. I'm Periyanagi from AC department, HOD of AC department. Your session was very nice. Actually, in the Masters of Design, whether they'll discuss any specific task in design or overview of design, sir. It, depending on the UG course, the design aspects will be there, or if the student may be in different domains, sir. Maybe electrical, mechanical, any domain, the design aspects, what they are learning in their masters will differ, or with respect to branch oriented, or
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that question. Yes, that's a very valid question. So both IITs and NIDs, if your bachelor's is in any technical domain, be it electronics, computer science, mechanical, it doesn't matter. You can still write the common entrance examination for design, which is just a high level overview in terms of arts and design. You have the syllabus and all available, but if you write it, you're allowed to apply to all these institutes and get into them. There you will have, of course, a basic introduction. After you join masters, you will have the basics of design, and then you will have intensive work course across the next 4 semesters. So there is no restriction, except I think the 3-year degrees were not allowed long back. I don't know now. Probably the 3-year degrees were not allowed. If it has changed, not sure. But definitely bachelors from all different domains are allowed to write this exam. They have to, of course, find the date for this upcoming exam, apply for this, and then on a particular date, give this exam in the center. And they are allowed to attend interviews in particular institutes. When they have to apply to particular institutes. Each institute, again, after, let us say I got All India rank 75, I had to apply to each institute which within the deadline. Again, for an interview, I go there, I attend the interview, and I can get selected. So for your question, ma'am, it is absolutely possible to get selected. In some institutes, GATE score was also allowed. For example, some of my classmates in IIT Kanpur during my masters were shortlisted using GATE scores also. So they just wrote GATE exam. They were allowed to actually interview along with us. Their ranks were good in GATE, and so they were also interviewed and they were also taken in. So they did not write SEED at all. I'm not sure if that is possible now, but SEED is always allowed for all the bachelors from different technical domains to write and enter. Yeah, I am from electronics and communication. That's how I got in. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. Is there any time? What time this exam should be taken, or any?
I think this happens
in third year, whether they should take, or in the final year, at what time this exams will be conducted, sir?
I think generally, so what I talked about before answering that question, ma'am, so SEED and NID are talking about IITs and a few other institutes, NIDs and a few other institutes. There are other exams also, like Srishti School of Design. There are various other exams which happen across the year. So each design institute sometimes has its own exam. You can find about it. But this definitely is a larger scope. If you write this, you have scope for various institutes. Having said that, coming to your question, ma'am, these exams happen every year in a particular time. I think NID exams happen in Jan. SEED happens in December, I guess. And so around that time, if you prepare, for example, if you're in your final year and you write it, you can get into it within the next 6 months if you pass it, right?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think your score might be valid for a couple of years. I'm not very sure about it. But if it's valid for 2 years, you can write it in your third year, and you can get into it if you have a good score. I think you can also rewrite it. If you're not happy with your first score, you can rewrite it in your fourth year, and if you have a better score, best of 2 might be taken. I can check about it and get back now. But otherwise, you can write it in third year and fourth year. Yeah. And one thing I would like to say, as we say in design, if a solution is not being usable easily, for example, there are glass doors which we always do it the wrong way, right? Push and pull, we do it the wrong way. If a solution is being wrongly used, it is not the problem of the user, it is the problem of the design. So it is the designer's issue that he or she did not design it properly for the user to easily use. Not use all the options of washing machines. It is the problem of the designer. It's not the problem of the user. Okay. So when we can't use an oven easily, or when we can't even can't open a push-pull door, glass door easily, if there is confusion, there is some cognitive, psychological aspects to it, which the designer did not still take into consideration, and it is a designer's mistake. The reason I'm saying this is there is no wrong question. So that is the basis of design. So feel free to ask any question. I'll try to answer with the experience and knowledge that I have. There is no wrong question. So you need not hesitate to ask if you are asking a right question. So,
Sir, I am Ganesh, sir.
yes.
So how design thinking is connected with the virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality, sir? What is the connection between the design thinking and these realities?
Sure, sir, sure. So, just to give you a broad overview, sir, virtual, augmented, and mixed realities are technologies that kind of enable you to augment information to the real world. When I say augment, add information to the real world. For a typical example is Pokemon Go. You have your phone on and there is a Pokemon walking around the world. It's mixed reality. It is trying to use the surfaces and make you feel like it is a part of the surface. It is mixing. It looks like it is mixing with the real world. Same thing with Snapchat and these avatars that you see with all these social medias, right? So you can apply filters to your faces. It kind of looks like it is mixed with your skin or on the layer of the skin, right? So if things are feeling like they are mixed with the reality, it's called mixed reality, and you can use a particular set of hardware and software to do it. If it is just floating around, when you are taking your camera or your phone and it's floating around, or you're wearing a device and it floats around, it doesn't have any interaction or relationship with the real world, it is called augmented reality. Augmenting means adding. So it is augmented onto the real world, so it is augmented reality. Virtual reality is like totally cutting you off from your real world. So you'll have a totally different experience. It's like a theater screen very close to you, so you don't know what's happening around you. But in terms of visuals, it's a totally different sensory experience. So for some solutions, these are useful. For example, in a game like Pokemon Go, it was useful. Let us say in some places for therapy, virtual reality is useful for some people to make them feel like walking, or many different worlds if they are in a coma, not a coma, like if they're bedridden for quite some time but they have not walked. This gives them a bit of relaxation and stuff. So you can use it in different scenarios. The reason I'm giving you an overview of these technologies is just like web technologies, devices like laptop, mobile, and tablets are used. Similarly, where there is a need for such a technology, we can bring the relevant solutions and hardware. So when we are talking about a problem in design thinking, we first try to see what ideas are used audience, the users, and what technologies can enable them get that experience. For example, if we talk about the water problem in Rajapalayam, right? Just to have the continuity so that it is easy to understand. You might want to solve it using pipelines or apps which connect various ways. But using augmented virtual reality, I'm not sure if you want to bring that solution there. Just to give you an example, in some cases, some technologies are apt for the solution that you are trying to design for the audience. In some cases, they are not. So design thinking also in the process of prototyping helps you understand what works and what doesn't work. So when you ask the question of where is AR, VR, MR, that's augmented, virtual, and mixed reality are coming in design thinking, it comes in the ideation stage and in the prototyping stage, just for you to check, keep it in the back of your mind whether for designing these technologies are useful. For example, you can solve the water problem with artificial intelligence, probably based on sensors. And you can look at knowledge graphs which are connecting different knowledge points and giving you some solutions. So that ways, these technologies can help you in terms of implementation, feasibility of solutions. But will they be desirable? is a thing. So technology is always a supporting aid in the design thinking process. So you might, for some solutions, choose AR as a very good solution, AR, VR, MR as a very good solution. In some other solutions, you will say that this has no scope for working for the audience for which we are designing. For example, if you take the Good Kitchen example, all that was important was their experience. You can force fit AR, VR in the design solution, but is it as effective as what they had now come up with? It's a comparative relative answer that you would want to look at. So broadening your question, AR, VR, MR, broadening it, taking all the different technologies. Where does technology enter design thinking? It is in the ideation and prototyping areas where you want to see what works for the audience for whom you are designing. So that is where it comes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, question from our HOD, sir.
Yes, please. Yeah.
What was our traditional knowledge in design thinking? Whether Thiruvalluvar told anything about design thinking?
Like I said, sir, it is common sense, right? Common sense. So this, I mean, when you're designing, for example, if you have a kid, like I have a son, if I'm doing something for him, I need to understand what his preferences are, right? So, and I do it for him. If a mother is thinking about a kid, like all of us have seen that, right? Like the mother thinks about what the kid likes. For example, if you like a particular flavor in food, probably when she's cooking that special dish for you, she presents it in a way in which she found you liking it when she initially tested it with you. Like she gives you all the different tastes and flavors, and then she sees what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So that ways, in everyday life, we are seeing designers around us who are designing solutions, but we probably professionally don't call them designs, right? So, for example, even this session is designed for the students, for them to get some career awareness. So someone is putting an effort in Ramco Institute of Technology, the career awareness group, the professors, the HOD, the principal, they're all taking effort to enable the students who are also interested to learn about technology. That is why to learn about career awareness, that's why they're joining them. So it is a designed activity where you identified someone who can give them an overview, and there are audience who are receiving it, and there are people who are enabling it. So it is common sense. So I do not know exactly if Thiruvalluvar said something about it, but it is common sense, and Thiruvalluvar has covered everything about common sense, so he would have definitely said something about it. So if sir has an answer, I would like to listen to it. Yeah.
Kannan, sir?
Right now, I have no answer. Anyway, I'll think it or search it and get back to you, sir.
Sure. So in other ways, in Tamil, there is a very common saying, right? Idam porul eval, right? I don't know who said it, but it is a very common thing. You have to think about the place where you are, what's happening around, what do you want to do there, what is the meaning you want to convey, and the way you want to project it. Idam porul eval, right? That's what is in other ways broadly design thinking, right? You understand what's the problem, what's the situation, that is idam porul, and then you try to see what's going on, how do you want to come up with ideas and things. Then you're prototyping, like you're testing it out and seeing what's happening. So yeah, in a way you can say it is said in different ways. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Participants, do you have any other questions to ask? Participants? Sir, I think no more questions are there.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Let us conclude the session by formally giving a vote of thanks. In this regard, I request Ms. B. Vijayalakshmi ma'am, Assistant Professor, Senior Grade, CSE Department, to propose the vote of thanks.
Sir. Thank you, sir, Ganesh, sir. So, good morning to all. Good morning to all present here. I feel honored to propose the vote of thanks to everyone present here of webinar on design thinking and interdisciplinary domain, organized by the Career Guidance Cell of Ramco Institute of Technology, Rajpalayam. I wish to begin by thanking today's resource person, Mr. R. Prithviraj, Lead UX Designer, Trimble, NI, for addressing the students' gathering. Thank you, sir, for your valuable information and interaction with our students. We are inspired by your words. I also would like to place on record our hearty thanks to our management, principal, vice principal, DGM, and heads of various departments for their support towards this endeavor. My thanks go to all the members of Career Guidance Cell for conducting this program successfully. I finally extend my thanks to all the participants from Ramco Institute of Technology for their interest and cooperation in conducting this webinar in a fruitful way. Once again, I thank to all the participants as well as the resource persons. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam.
Sir and ma'am, I just want to add one small thing. Yeah. So even though I said a lot about design thinking, I think one core aspect of design thinking is it's always a teamwork. So I might come with individually many ideas, but every one of us have different experiences and each of us come with different experiences. And it is always important to listen to it and take the positives out of it. With the problem in focus, not our egos in focus. We don't want to win, we want the solution to win for the user. So that is the whole approach of design thinking. So if you ideally follow design thinking, you eventually become a good human. That is the opportunity. The point I wanted to emphasize was, each of this, like I said, design thinking is a teamwork. Each of us are in a team, in a society where we are contributing to each other in terms of health, in terms of supporting each other grow in careers, in happiness, right? So our parents have been a huge support for us all along. There is a society which is helping us move forward in a particular way, and we are responsible for each other. So I am very thankful for having wonderful parents who have always guided me through the process. Even my grandparents and my friends and relatives have always been supportive. The reason I bring this up is currently it is our responsibility to be responsibility to take care of the health of others. And if we are wearing masks and being protective, that itself is doing a lot of good for the nurses and the doctors around. So I take this opportunity to request people to take the necessary precautions at this time. I know we want to enjoy things, but we can enjoy it so that others can also enjoy it for a longer time. So please take the necessary precautions. And I think if we can do our bit in terms of supporting by taking these precautions, and if we can donate something with whatever is possible to people who are in need, that would be of great help at this point in time. I'll end the talk with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I thank all the participants for your patience listening. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.